Hey everyone, this is Peter Estes of Valley CAD, and this is another Just a Thought Thursdays. So in today's video, I wanted to touch on the term of configurations. Many times, companies will say no configurations whatsoever, and they are perfectly valid in stating that, especially if you got a team of engineers where you got 3 to 5, even 9 engineers. I've worked at companies that had that many engineers before, and those companies would say no configurations whatsoever. And the reason why is because you might create a part that's a certain size and it has a special configuration of what you're supposed to be releasing. But if you're sharing that part with other engineers, like you're doing a full team of designing a complex components or an assembly, if you share this file with someone else and they actually put in the wrong configuration part, you're going to have a wrong assembly. And things might not gel together, and it's going to be an issue. But there are applications when to use configurations, and these are kind of the guidelines that I give to companies as well as my students, is saying, hey, configurations are a great tool, especially for preliminary design work, but also looking at manufacturing processes. And that's actually what I'm going to show on here. So, where are we going to go about this? Let's switch over to our main monitor of SOLIDWORKS, and looking at SOLIDWORKS here, you'll see that I got a cool little wrench set up here, a ratchet wrench, and I have configurations on that. Now, where are configurations? Well, configurations is actually right over here on the left side of your screen where you see your feature manager design tree, then you got property manager, then you see configuration manager. So what are configurations? Configurations are alterations of one single part. One great example of that is, think of your car. Your car can have a plethora of different configurations. You know, all the doors are open. One door is open. The back door is open. And also your seats can have configurations. Oh, I like my seat to be so far away from my steering wheel. Or I also like to lean it back. You know, those are all different configurations. Did your car change from a Subaru to a Mazda? No, it's still the same car. So, but it's changing the configuration of it. And so in SOLIDWORKS, you can do that as well. And like I was saying, a lot of companies say, stay away from configurations. They are the worst thing ever. We've lost more money than saved money by doing configurations. And that is a very valid statement. So I'm not going to go into the full detail of creating configurations. This is a video to show here are some practices of when to implement a configuration and when not to implement a configuration. Okay, so first I'm going to show you how to implement a configuration. So looking at my ratchet here, you got to think of, okay, the manufacturing of this ratchet is going to be forged and also machined. Now, let's say your company does not do any forging. Let's say you are just a machining company, so you just got mills and so forth, but you don't do any of the casting work or anything like that. You want to send that off to another manufacturer. Well, does that manufacturer care about the machined out holes that you're going to do? Like, for instance, in the head here, machining out all the pockets and the recess and so forth? No, they don't care about that. All that they care about is seeing what does this unit look like when it's forged. And so you don't want to send a final part file to that manufacturer and say, hey, here it is, here's all the machined out aspects. Don't worry about that. We just want you to do the forging aspect. So that company is going to come back and say, hey, can you send us another part file that would be just the forged state? Well, you could say, sure, we could do that, or you could just simply make a configuration on that. And that's actually what I did in this process. So in this instance, I have a default configuration, a forged configuration, which looks like default, and then a machined configuration. This is a great process to do because then you can make drawings from this as well, and you make one drawing meant for forged and one drawing meant for machined. Okay, so this is a great application of when to use configurations. Other times that I've seen configurations is I used to be sheet metal engineer, and so when I was doing that, our press brake operator would like to see steps in how we would recommend how to form a part. And so we would make configurations saying, all right, here's step 1, step 2, step 3, and what we would do is we would suppress and unsuppress folds in our sheet metal part file, and we would import each of those configurations into a drawing sequence. And then that would allow the press brake operator to see the step-by-step process of how we would recommend that they should form that piece of metal. Okay, so that's it. This is a great application of seeing how you can go about that. Okay, now here's an aspect of saying don't do configurations. Okay, when I say don't do configurations, it means that if the part has changed so much that it deserves its own part number. Okay, so like for instance, looking at our configuration part here of our ratchet, let's say I have a long version and a short version. Well, to me, that would dictate a whole different part number. So what I mean by that is if I came in here and I said that I wanted this to not be 12 inches anymore, instead I want it to be, let's say, 20 inches. So this is going to be my long version of this ratchet. So I would technically take this and save this out as a whole nother part file and call it configuration long or something like that, ratchet long. And then I would keep this one and keep it as ratchet short, or however you want to name it. But when I do this long one and I do what's known as like a pack and go or save as copy, I can then see my different configurations and it would still populate. This is a great application. Once again, I'm using configurations depending on how I'm going to get this unit manufactured and who is this part file going to go to. Okay, another aspect to look at, and this bit me in the butt. It was a really tough scenario. I was working for that sheet metal company, and we had a client that said, hey, I want part number 1, 2, 3, 4, let's just say. And I got the bill or the project for it, and I said, all right, they want part number 1, 2, 3, 4. And this was a part that was ordered over and over again, and I just started at that company, and I didn't know that. And so let's say they ordered that part 1, 2, 3, 4, but I didn't know that they had configurations of that part file. And so like for instance here I have it, and let's say that this is called part 3, and on this part there are technically 3 configurations for this: a default, a circle configuration, and a rectangle configuration. So if you get an order and say, hey, I need to make part 3, okay, hey, I pulled up the part number, part 3, and I didn't know that there was configurations on it, and say, oh, here it is, send that off to the shop floor to get made. But in reality, you needed to make the circle cut configuration available. Or maybe you needed the square cut one, or a rectangle one, I should say, right? So by me releasing the wrong configured part, I now made the wrong part. Okay, and so this is an application where I highly recommend that you make this as 3 separate part files. So you'll make a part file called part 3 no cut, part 3 circle cut, part 3 rectangle cut or square cut. Okay, so these are some of the like weighing out when do I do configuration and when do I not do it. So with my experience, I've recommended companies and SOLIDWORKS users, hey, do configurations for preliminary designs. Those are designs that you are trying to come up with that are not going to be released yet. That way you can present them and not make a whole bunch of part files. Or when you are mass producing a part and you have different manufacturing techniques on it, and you have different departments that might see it, such as the ratchet that I had here. I had a forged version and a machined version. So I would make 2 separate drawings on one drawing file, and I would send out the forged version to whoever's doing the forging or casting, and I would send out the other drawing to whoever's doing the machining. Okay, so I hope you guys get an idea of when and when not to use configurations. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know, how are you using configurations? Have you seen this issue where you've made a design and you made multiple configurations and someone else opened up that SOLIDWORKS part file and they accidentally sent out the wrong configuration? It happens to the best of us. It really does. And so once again, thanks for checking out this video. Please subscribe to the ValleyCAD channel. We're trying to post new videos every Tuesday and Thursday. Tuesdays are Tech Tip Tuesdays and Thursdays are Just a Thought Thursdays. And also we're on Twitch. Check us out. Go to twitch.com/@ValleyCAD. Okay? ValleyCAD is our channel, doing live streaming. Like for instance, right now, that's why I keep looking over at my other screen. I'm live streaming right now and making sure, hey, there's people watching live streaming right now. Are they asking me any questions while I'm doing this? Okay, so I try to live stream while I'm doing these YouTube videos, and also while we're doing other design projects or doing our 3D scanning or 3D printing using other softwares. Ask us questions while we're doing it. We're happy to look into that. Also check out our website. It's valleycad.com. You can also email me directly with questions. It's peter.estes@valleycad.com. I'll put that information in a link below. Other than that, thanks for coming by. Have a great rest of the day, and make sure you learn something new.